Hello everyone, my name is Nir and I'm the head of data science at Galvanize. I'm really excited to be here with you today, share with you my experience and knowledge working with Fortune 500 companies around data science, artificial intelligence, also mostly around training. Also give you some practical tools today so that by the end of this presentation and talk, you can actually take these actions and apply them to your organization or startups and start help navigate your organization to become a data-driven organization, that it can actually survive this fourth industrial revolution, which is the artificial intelligence revolution. So for those of you who haven't got brainwashed from the video that we're running around, and for those of you who do not know Galvanize, Galvanize is the learning community for technology. We are the market leader in data science, data engineering, software engineering, education. We have 8 beautiful campuses and very vibrant community. I welcome you all to check also our brand new New York campus on Hudson Street. I'm also very glad and happy to announce that we officially open our admission for our data science immersive bootcamp in New York. So check this out. So before we get started, and I see there's some people at the back, I've created for you a worksheet that basically will help you achieve 2 goals. One, it will help you to follow me, talking around 50 minutes. It's going to be very fast. I can talk about this for 8 hours if you're interested. But we can take it afterwards. But also the worksheet is going to stimulate you to think about how you, within your function within the organization, can make an impact right after this talk and workshop and start the journey to navigate your startup or organization to become more data-driven, that will be able to enable and unfold the AI capabilities. So this is the worksheet. Some of you have this one. The people at the back, if you have your laptop, you can actually quickly download it from this link. There is either the PDF version of it or the Keynote version. So it's time to get serious about artificial intelligence. Academia and industry have been talking about artificial intelligence for many years. Shannon wrote a paper in '49. IBM is doing a lot of research, and IBM Watson win the Jeopardy. Last year, AlphaGo win the Go game. But more than that, it is just we're talking about artificial intelligence. The message that I want to deliver you today is that artificial intelligence and machine intelligence is already here and now. And it's time to get serious about it, and it's also very interesting time to think about investing in AI, because there were early adopters in the field. Companies like Google, like Facebook, like Tesla, that really adopted machine intelligence very early on. And what we can do today is basically take the investment and figure out what was the ROI on this investment, and how how machine intelligence helped them grow their organization. So AI is everywhere. You have a quote here from CEO of Microsoft, but basically said that we need machine intelligence and we need artificial intelligence in order to help us solve the most pressing problems that we have in the world. And it's quite simple. We do need this helper brain. We do need this machine intelligence because of a very simple fact. Our brain is very limited. We are living in an era where information flows to us in a tremendous amount of volume, and we cannot anymore treat the data in a very egalitarian way. Our brain have a very short, limited memory. We take data that is we recognize data that is with certain colors, with a certain message, and we don't treat everything in a very equal manner, which the machine can actually perfectly do. And the problem is that it affects our decision making within our organization. We don't make any more optimal or even suboptimal decision making. So we do need AI and we do need machine intelligence to help us solve the most crucial problems that obviously all of these problems have a tremendous amount of data around them. So AI is transforming not just specific industries, it's everywhere. And if I had more time, I will give you a few examples from all of these industries that we mentioned here. But the idea is that many industries have accumulated a lot of data that today can be leveraged in order to create some business ROI. So AI is basically everywhere. Now, I encourage you to think about your industry, about your company, about your startup. How can you actually leverage the data that you have in order to create some business benefit? I want to show you some data before I will get into the interesting part of the presentation, which will be give you some tools. I want to show you some data about how big and how vast is the transformation. So we have 300% year-to-year investment in artificial intelligence raised in 2017. There is around, actually it's going to be, I believe it's going to be higher than that, but at least 20% lift in revenue for companies who are leveraging AI capabilities by 2020. And this number is just growing more and more. It's really time to act on it, and the next slide I hope will convince you why. It's time to act on it. It's time to start the journey of thinking about how can I, within my company and within my role, can take and leverage the data that I have in order to push and move my organization forward, that the organization that will be able to survive this fourth industrial revolution. More than a third of businesses will not survive in the next 10 years. How many of you know what is the life expectancy of a Fortune 500 companies this day? Any idea? I wish I could hear you. I will show you the next slide. Anyway, it's time to act on it. There is around 140 startups acquired since 2016. Look at the market value, more than $2.5 billion. This is completely transforming entire industries and the way we work. So here is the answer, and this I think is actually a very interesting slide, and I hope it will stimulate your brain to think, how can you actually survive this new industrial revolution? So in the past 15 years, around 52% of Fortune 500 companies have disappeared from the index. If you look at the life expectancy in 1955 of Fortune 500 companies, it was 75 years. In 2015, it was 15 years. Today, it's actually less than 9, but I wanted to write 10 just for the sake of it. But basically what it means is that you have to adopt. You have to change. You need to start making the journey. Otherwise, you might not survive in the future. So, we can talk about some example. Think about Kodak, right? Kodak was like part of the 55, right? What happened to Kodak? Start asking yourself, did they make the adoption to the market? Did they listen to their customers? Why they are gone by now? That's some questions that you need to ask yourself about your specific organization. So, again, we are at the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution, which is the AI revolution. And what people are not quite sure that they understand is that we talk about artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence is not just about talking about what happened in the future. The future is already here and now. And if you ask me and many others leaders in the field, what really sparked this revolution, it was actually just in 2016, just almost a year ago, when AlphaGo created a very generalized algorithm that with curated data basically won the AlphaGo game, which, kind of like we all started to think about, wow, we actually thought that artificial intelligence and machine learning, all this robotic, all this like self-driving car will arrive in 2020. But what we have discovered is that it's actually here, and it's actually now. And we see many applications. You know, I show lots of like Fortune 500 companies. We meet with lots of their C-level executives and senior management. I show them robotics. Sometimes they freaked out. But robotics are here. You know, go to Japan airport, check out Pepper. See how many Peppers, how many households in Japan have Pepper, have robotics that interact with them. Self-driving car. You know, we have it in San Francisco, we have it in Pittsburgh, we have it around the US, you know. It's already here, it's already now. And what I want you to take from here, from these slides, is that you really need to start thinking about how you can act on it within your organization. Now, we are in a very techy conference, which I love, because I'm coming from tech. So let's talk about innovation. So today, most innovative companies, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the companies here, rely on data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence capabilities to drive business process and user experience to add value. You know, Amazon is a great example that perfected it. It's basically a gigantic supply chain company that use artificial intelligence and machine learning in every piece of this chain. And they really perfected it. You know, we can talk about it forever, from how to organize the packages in the warehouse, to pricing optimization, to the estimated delivery time, to let driver know how to deliver the package in the most efficient way. All of this is basically artificial intelligence. It's all about machine learning. It's all about data science. But what is more interesting, and you know, we can speak about content recommendation at Google and some other. But let's talk about the future. Let's talk about what's next. What is the future of business innovation look like 5 or 10 years from now? Future of business innovation has an artificial intelligence component, and it's a very core structure of the organization. And you know, there's some companies that did it a long time ago. You know, Pandora, 15 years ago, started with the Genome Project. You know, it's been quite a while. They completely created the business around recommendation system, about artificial intelligence, about interacting with their users and provide them the best content based on what they have. Nest, you know, it was very complicated to create a thermostat that can actually provide you the best temperature based on your preferences, just by writing a very long code, right? Right now, Nest, what did is basically created a model that is very generalized. You play with Nest for 2 weeks and a half. It connects to your phone and router. Every time you get back home, it recognizes you. It collects weather data from your phone and from the internet. And voila, after 2 weeks and a half, after you playing with this basically very generalized model, you get the best temperature based on your preferences. So these are some companies that basically positioned machine intelligence and artificial intelligence as the core component of their business. Now, I encourage you again to think about how you, within your startup, within your organization, can start making the transformation. And what I want to impart to you is this line of thought. So every time, this is quite funny, every time I talk about artificial intelligence, some people love it, some people completely hate it. So it's very interesting, especially when you talk to C-level executive that have been, you know, managing companies and organizations for many, many years. So people love artificial intelligence because they do see and recognize the opportunities and the benefit that it unfolds within their organizations. But many people also are afraid of it. When we speak about AI, we speak about robotics, people like freak out. They look at the numbers here. 36% of the people believe that AI will eventually take over or destroy humanity. When I show people robotics, they freak out. Oh my gosh, what is that? It's going to take my job? I don't know if it's going to take your job, but if we speak about the future, we do know that machine can replace the human in many areas and can take some of the responsibilities that we currently have. It doesn't mean that the robot or machine intelligence or artificial intelligence will completely eliminate your job or replace your job. It just takes some of the responsibilities. And I just want to give you one example. Let's talk about lawyers. Do we have lawyers in the house? Awesome, I feel safe. So usually when I speak about, again, with Fortune 500 companies, there are some lawyers in the C-level suite, and they're all like, oh my gosh. Let's speak about lawyers. Natural language processing is doing a fantastic job writing contracts. Why lawyers need to spend so many times within their day writing contracts if the machine can do it in 2 hours, 1 hour, maybe 2 seconds, right? It doesn't mean that the job of a lawyer will not be here 15 years from now. We'll still need lawyers, but the responsibilities of the lawyers will be different. Maybe lawyers will not spend so much time writing contract. Maybe they will do negotiation, which the machine is not that good at this point, at interacting with humans or with other machines at this specific moment. So, yes, robots and artificial intelligence will replace some of the responsibilities that we currently have, but we will be focused on some other or new ones. So this is our love-hate relationship. Honestly, I do not believe that artificial intelligence will take over or destroy humanity, and I can give you my arguments right after this talk if you're interested. But what's the basis of machine learning, data science, or artificial intelligence? It's all about data. And I put this slide here because I have been working with lots of startups company that have a serious issue with their data. So let me give you an example. Data is the king. Data is, I think, the most expensive commodity in our days. And I have been talking with lots of startup companies that really wants to leverage this AI and machine learning capabilities. And they started the journey a year ago or even 2 years ago, but then they realized that, wow, shit, I don't have data for that. What I want to tell you, and some of you probably are founders or co-founders or CTOs of startup companies, I want to encourage you to think how you can actually start collecting data from day one, even before you launch your product. Because eventually, once you have the product launch and you have some feedback from users, you have some data, you will be able to rapidly create these AI capabilities and create these machine learning models that will help you better understand how to interact with your users and eventually will help you create and drive some business opportunities and ROI back to your companies. I call it the startup data fallacy, where companies don't think about how they collect data from day one. And this is something you should really pay attention to and take close to your heart. So data is the king. Without data, you cannot basically create all of these fancy predictive models. It's the foundation of everything. And strong data culture is the basis of artificial intelligence, and we will talk about it in just 1 second. So I will not read you this, but most powerful tech CEOs betting big on AI, and for good reasons. Companies here are actually companies who adopted AI very, very early on, and they can actually quantify today what's the ROI on the investment. We should not be afraid of AI. AI will actually help us build and solve some of the most crucial problems that we have in our days, that humanity face. And we do, think about it, our brain is limited. How much data flowing towards you every day? Can we still, in our era and days, make an optimal decision to survive? That's going to be tough without using a machine that will treat everything in a very egalitarian way. So let me share with you some of my experience working with Fortune 500 companies. What have I learned from working closely with them? So we look on all of these companies and some other companies that I didn't put here just because of confidentiality. But when we look on this organization, we recognize three main pillars or aspects. All of these organizations have in common strong data culture, strong tech teams, and strong technology infrastructure. And when we speak about how to survive the game, you need to get out of here today and figure out how you can actually start invest in these three pillars in order to unfold the benefits from artificial intelligence. And this is what we're going to talk about. But before we jump into the three pillars, you need to make sure that you check V on one big thing. It's not a small thing. It's about navigating your organization and start the journey to become a data-driven organization. It's not an easy task. That's the truth. Again, I have been working with many small and large companies. It's not an easy journey, but I want to give you some tools to basically start thinking about it. And if you have the worksheet with you, start thinking about how your organization looks today. What's the future state that you want your organization to be? And think about your role as a functional leader, startup founder, co-founder, CTO, how you can actually, what actions you can take today, right after, by the end of this organization, to make sure to navigate your organization to become data-driven, that will be able to unfold all of these opportunities from ROI, from artificial intelligence. So I just want to quickly show you how the distribution look like. I tried to draw a distribution there, but the distribution is moving rapidly towards the left side, where companies back then, maybe 15 years ago, were like data indifferent. I think small amount of them were data denial, but in recent years, there is a massive shift towards the left side, towards data-driven. Companies basically use data and decisions at the same place and time. Where your organization fits within this framework, within this axis. Is it towards the left? Is it towards the right? What you can do today to shift it towards the left. So why it's so hard, and why I said it is so hard to become data-driven organization? Well, firstly, data science and machine learning is a top-down decision. It has to start from leaders in your company. Basically because they need to navigate the organization to be data-driven and believe in the amount and believe in the capabilities of data, but also because it's required large investment. And you have to get the economics and finance before, and the money before you actually start applying all of that. But it's hard because there is lots of management problems in this era with traditional management. Lots of managers have a big fear of data. You will not believe how many managers don't know even how to deal with the overflow amount of information that flow to them. There is a lot of overload of information that creates a lot of fear. Nature. We do not feel comfortable with numbers. Sometimes, there's a lot of C-level executive and senior management that see all of these numbers and the prediction from the models and all the graph, and they don't know how to interpret it. They don't know how, they're not accustomed to basically making decisions right away with data. Ignorance, again, people aren't accustomed to solve problems with data in general. Even if they have the data, sometimes the natural habit is like, yeah, I can make the decision, navigate my organization to here or to there because of my gut feeling. This is not healthy anymore in our days. People want control, especially managers, even though if data speaks at a different level and different way, and lack of patience, which is really orthogonal to the way that artificial intelligence and machine learning works. You need patience. Results now will not work with these models. These models are an iterative process of learning trial, right? It's like the brain. We learn from failure. We learn from experience. So we have some barriers, but let's take a look how management in the big data era should look like. So I'm sure we have lots of leaders here, and what we have identified is that companies succeed in this big data era because their leadership set very clear goals. define what success look like, and ask the right questions. And all of these three components are basically the core of machine learning and artificial intelligence. As a data scientist, I need to figure out how to create a model that predicts success. So what success look like is a very important metric that I need to get from my leadership team. Clear goals and ask the right questions are very fundamentally important for unlocking the capabilities of AI. Talent management, it's a big thing, and we will speak about it today. Data is definitely become cheaper. Also, technology is becoming more and more inexpensive. But the skills required to interact and work with these technologies are very expensive. It's very expensive to hire a really good data scientist. It's really expensive to hire a software engineer and data engineer these days. And for some companies, it's a real problem because it also takes a lot of time. So what we see today, and I will show you some slides, is companies actually growing talent from within and basically using upskilling programs. For example, at Galvanize, we provide a lot of upskilling program for companies that can actually use their own talent for new responsibilities and for new job. So technologies are now available. It's a well-charted territory. It's generally quite cheap. Decision making, and here I think it's actually, these are the most interesting bullets here. Effective organizations and leader in this organization taking data and decision and putting these two right at the same place. How many of you, and ask yourself, I will not ask you to say it out loud or to raise your hand, how many of you are really accustomed to make decision by looking first at data? How many of you don't distinguish between data and decision? How many of you put decisions and data right at the same place when you need to make a call? Company culture is also very important, and this is what we have seen. Companies that are data-driven ask themselves, what do I know before what do I think? When you look about the future, when you want to make decisions, you should ask yourself these days, within this new revolution, what do I know first before what do I think? And you will be surprised. There is a lot of Fortune 500 companies that are very far away from perfecting what I've just shown you. So don't think it's just your organization. I promise you, there are many, many big ones, I will not obviously call their name, that haven't perfected putting data and decision at the same place, and companies that do not ask, what do we know before what do we think the future might look like? So just to recap that, data-driven decisions tend to be better decisions, and leader will either embrace this fact or will be replaced by others. And that's the hard truth. So how can you actually start navigating your mind and organization to become data-driven? So let's speak about the three pillars of artificial intelligence. And here I want to give you some tools. And if you will see in the worksheet, you have these sections about where is your company looks today and where it should be in the future, and what steps you as a functional leader can take today in order to make this transition. So data culture. It's very, very important to maintain healthy data culture. You basically need to create an environment where data science, machine learners, software engineers can actually thrive. So the way to think about it is, we are all, you can think about it as data scientists or machine learners are like researchers. We love to work in teams. I see companies that say, yeah, I will hire one data scientist, he will probably be there for like 6 months and everything will be fantastic. No, it doesn't work like that. Data scientists needs to work in team. We need to get feedback on what we do. When you think about data scientists, think about researchers. And now you can actually create an environment for them to thrive. The second thing is that you need to get into the habit of data-driven decisions, and we spoke about it. The third thing is basically democratize your data. And this is something very important because I see many companies, even big ones, making this mistake of basically just showing to data scientists or to the data analysts or the BI people the data. No, you should let every person within your organization touch and see the data. We all, from the barista to the CEO, we all make decisions every day. We can make better decisions by looking at the data. Democratize your data. Make it publicly available to all of your employees. You will see how decision making is improving. Prioritize investment with the highest data ROI. This is mostly on technical people and senior management to figure out where you should firstly allocate the money. Where is data warehousing? Where is the modeling capabilities, hiring talent, etc. And do not forget, and again, I saw many large companies that didn't have a very clear data governance in the organization. This is what we call creating a healthy data culture. Now think about your organization. Are you excelling, applying all of those bullets? How your organization looks today, how you can navigate to make sure that it looks like that tomorrow. I do have some questions for you just to spark your brain and to think a little bit. How can you as a leader, as a functional leader, as a co-founder, as a founder, better embrace data-driven decision making? What can you do today? What can you do by the end of this workshop? What are obstacles that doesn't allow you to do it, and how can those obstacles can be overcome? All right, let's talk about the second big thing. So I will ask you just to raise your hand, so just I will have some proportions. How many of you have struggled with getting the data that you want for your organization? How many of you struggle with data? Right, there is like 5, 7 people. Very typical. How many of you have struggled with getting the technology in place? There's like 3 people. How many of you struggle with hiring technical people within your organization? Way more. So that's the big thing. Lots of companies struggle getting and maintaining the data talent. So I'm sure you all have seen this before. Data science, machine learning is basically a 3-legged stool skills. There is lots of math and stats, there's lots of computer science. You can think about the subject matter expertise as having an MBA. And if you will find someone that master all of these 4 components, we will call this guy a machine learner or data science unicorn, which is very rare to find. I maybe saw like few people in my entire life. You will basically look like that. But what I want to tell you here is that these are 4 different disciplines. We're speaking about mathematics, we speak about computer science, we speak about an MBA, we speak about computer science. To master one of those disciplines, it takes a lifetime. Now think about mastering all of those together and figure out what the intersection between them to create capabilities. That's almost mission impossible. So what I want you to take from this slide is that when you're creating your data talent teams, you need to figure out how to create a heterogeneous team that people will come from the math and the stats background, that people will come from the computer science, that people will come with some subject matter or business acumen. And basically together, if you mix their skills all together to one team, this will actually create a very healthy data environment. So let's speak about how to grow talent and attract talent. It's very expensive, that's true. What we've seen, and one of the most significant data point that I will have to share with you today is that many companies around small one and big one, again, Fortune 500 companies, are coming to Galvanize so we can actually help them upskilling their talent within their organization. So instead of hiring, which is very, very costly, and obviously there is lots of risk and uncertainty with hiring people, not speaking about the timeline, companies prefer these days to grow talent within their organization. So what you need to look for? You need to look for people that have the curiosity and the growth mindset, people that have an interdisciplinary perspective on the business, people that have some technical acumen in business and big picture view. And what we see, and I will show you in a second the talent map and how basically the talent map shifts or will shift in the future. This is some predictions that we make, and I encourage you to think about how you can actually grow and identify talent within your company. Now this is the interesting stuff here. So this is the AI data science talent map, and this is how it looks currently today. We have business analysts and data analysts, some SQL developers, you have the data science, you have the data engineers, machine learner. But what's the problem in this chart, in this talent map? There's some really big, actually gigantic holes within it. What is between the data scientist and the SQL developer? What's going on between a machine learner engineer and analytics engineer? What we have seen in the past year or so is that companies are actually creating new roles that fills the gap, creating new responsibilities for talent team to basically to fill those gaps that we have here. And this is how basically it looks like. Don't hold me on, the names are changing, just data scientists, you can find 150 flavors of it. But this is what happened recently. SQL developers, companies trying to figure out how they can take their SQL developers and grow the talent so they can actually become a data science analyst that better serves the data scientist, right? Data scientists should not work on a lot of exploratory data analysis or should not clean the data. That's perfect job and responsibilities for a data science analyst. So basically the data scientist can actually focus on the hardcore modeling aspect. We have the data science engineer that, I don't know here in the East Coast, but in San Francisco, in the West Coast, there's lots of data science engineers. There are senior data scientists now and machine learner. So what we've seen is that companies are actually upskilling their talent and growing talent within the organization to fill these gaps. So this is current trends. And the truth is that Fortune 500 companies have been working on that already for almost a year. At least that's the first data point that I've encountered with. But the question here is how this talent map is going to shift in the next 5 years. What's going to happen? What will be the trend? Speak about business innovation here. How business innovation around talent will change in the future. So let me tell you, and again, this is what we've seen collecting data and working with lots of big and small companies in our community. So what we've seen in the past 8 months is that we got so many requests for companies to basically upgrade or upskill this lower side of this chart. Basically, companies want to figure out how they can take their SQL developers, people who are literally touching the data, cleaning the data, and preparing the data for the data scientists, and upskill their skills to be data science analysts. So they can basically, again, take some of the responsibilities from the data scientists and better serve them so data scientists can basically focus on modeling. So what we have seen is that many jobs or responsibilities have been eliminated or upskilled around business analyst, SQL developer, BI. Who is doing BI these days? BI is pretty much gone, right? 7 years ago, 10 years ago, BI was everywhere. So this is some prediction how this talent map will grow within this artificial intelligence revolution. And I can assure you, it's going to go up and up and even more. So think about how you, within your organization, can basically upskill and grow talent within the people that you have. So this is a little bit about some data teams. Again, data scientists works in team. This is some of the most notable models that organizations are using to create their teams. For example, the centralized one is you have like head of data science, head of machine learning, and basically he prioritize all the investment and what the responsibility is going to look like and where we are going. Embedded team is basically you break down the talent to be in pods, and basically they just share practices. Maybe they meet for lunch and learn, maybe they collaborate on some platform to share best practices, but they're pretty much autonomous. The hub and spoke is a very interesting model, hard to execute, but very, very beneficial for organization, where basically data scientists work like consultants. So there are data scientists who go to the marketing team and act as a consultant. There are data scientists who go to the operation teams and act as consultants. But eventually, at the end of the day, they all come together. They all share best practices within one center group or head. And this is actually a very healthy model. Go back and forward in terms of like learning velocity. It's very helpful for the organization. So let's speak just a little bit on the technology aspect. This is a well-charted territory. I think this is only 10% of the technology that is available out there. There's different technology for different tasks. There's many maps like that. This is just something for you to be familiar with and think about. Python is still the king. That's the truth. Python is great language that help data scientists and machine learning throughout our daily workflow. This is one of the main reasons that it's still out there. Obviously, in terms of trend, Scala is picking up crazily, exponentially lately around big data. Hadoop has been there for quite a while. TensorFlow, if you see adoption to TensorFlow from Google, the number is outrageous. So definitely the future, we have lots of Scala, lots of TensorFlow. We'll see what's going to happen with Python after Python 3, but that's how it looks like. Again, most of these technologies are open source. They are available for you. You don't need to pay for most of them. This is just something for you to think about. So we spoke about the culture, we spoke about the talent, we spoke about the technology, and hopefully you took some notes about where your company, how your company look today, and how you want it to look in the future, and what 1 to 3 actions you can take today in order to make this transformation. But where to start is a good start here. Usually what I do when I consult with companies and work with Fortune 500 of companies is ask their leadership team is what are the top 5 business problems in your organization? What is the crucial thing that you need to solve today in order to make the transition, in order to be better, in order to drive more revenue towards your organization? Ask yourself, what are the top 5 business problems you have? And write it down. And then what we basically need to do is take your business problems and translate them into data problems. So let's try to bucket them, and here I give you some of the narrative. Obviously, there is way more models than that, but try to think about the business problems that you have and how you can actually classify those problems into these groups. Optimization methods, data science and machine learning and artificial intelligence can help a lot with optimizing pricing if you're not quite sure what is the right pricing for the right customer, or reveal the reservation price, what is the price that someone will be willing to pay without any intervention. Ad monetization, how you can actually better targeting. We know that for marketing, better targeting is always better than just spreading the word out there. We are in a personalized era. Everyone wants to see something that is best fit for their preferences. Recommendation engines and system is very, very vast. Personalized content, this is what Facebook is perfecting. Product recommendation, I'm sure most of you have lots of product that you are selling. How you can actually send the message or show people the product that is best fit for their preferences. If you're doing something with finance, fraud detection and prevention, lots of companies saving actually it's more than millions of dollars by just running a fraud detection and prevention model. Just think about Amazon. How much money these artificial intelligence capabilities saving from them. The money is the amount is so significant and large, which is amazing. Natural language processing is growing exponentially. It's been here for quite a while. If you have some business problems around customer support or service or personal assistant, this is becoming also a well-charted territory, and there is a lot of natural language processing applications out there that you can immediately apply to your organization. If you're thinking about how to better engage or upselling, there is a lot of churn model. I saw many companies that saved a lot of money by just identifying consumers that are about to churn using churn models, consumer lifetime value, and on. And the list just go on and on. But what I encourage you to do is to go back home right after this talk and figure out what are the top 5 business problems that your organization is facing today, and how you can basically translate these business problems into data problems, so data science, so machine learning, so artificial intelligence can help you unlock the benefit of the data that you currently have. So you have basically, and usually, again, I deliver a very long one-day workshop with senior management and executives called Data Science for Executive Workshop, that basically senior management write their data science strategy, and by the end of it, they can actually act. But you have a similar version of it right here. So here is my recommendation for you, how you can act on your data strategy. The first thing, and this is the foundation of everything in this artificial intelligence era and machine learning, you have to start thinking how to start the journey to transform your organization to become data-driven. You have to get into the habit of making data and decisions right at the same place. You need to identify business data ROI opportunities, exactly what we did a second ago. Translate your 5 business problems into data problem and start investing in those. Then you need to refine your data strategy. And what I really recommend you is start small. You do not need to invest millions of dollars in order to showcase wins and understand what's the respective ROI behind the investment. If you are a startup, I'm very aware that you don't have millions of dollars, or maybe you cannot even hire a data scientist. I saw many startups that have developers because they need, and software engineers because you need to make sure that the website is okay. You need to make sure that your back end collecting the data. These developers can definitely use technologies out there, and I will just mention Watson because developers know how to do API integration and press on buttons, and they actually know way more than that, but in terms of artificial intelligence and machine learning, this is something that developers can actually showcase result right away. So start with small investment, start small, showcase wins, quantify the ROI, and then go larger and larger and bigger over time. Then you will have way more data to refine your data strategy, which today you have some seed of it. And this will help you eventually survive in this game. This is a very, very exciting time with a lot of opportunities for businesses to grow. And I hope that you will take some of the concepts that I mentioned here close to your heart and think how you can actually start making the transformation within your organization to become more data-driven and more mature when it comes to artificial intelligence capabilities. And with that, I thank you all. Thank you so much for everything. I hope you enjoyed it.